Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to the Ixalan Planeswalker deck product analysis. Let us take a look at these Planeswalker decks and see if they are something that will be of use or interest to you. So, there are two different Planeswalkers decks that we have specifically for Ixalan, one based around Jase and one based around Watley. So, starting out with the Jase deck, basically what I'm going to do is cover the exclusive cards that show up only in the deck. The rest of these cards show up in other standard sets, but these are the cards you can only get in the Planeswalker deck. First of all is the Jase itself. Jase, Ingenious Mind Mage, is only available in the Planeswalker deck. He does have an interesting range of abilities that don't really seem all that connected together, but definitely seem like a nice versatile range of abilities to make him just fun to play with, aside from being part of the deck. Now, other than that, we have the true two rares. Every Planeswalker deck will have a rare that's designed to search for the Planeswalker from the deck. So in this case, it's Grasping Current, which lets you bounce two creatures back to their owner's hand while also tutoring for the Jase, looking for the Jase from either your deck or your graveyard. So those are nice. I do like that. The fact that you can bounce two creatures while getting your Planeswalker gives you a little bit more time to make sure the board's not going to be too rough once the Planeswalker hits the board and isn't just going to die right away from getting attacked. So I do like that. And if you're going to be facing the Planeswalkers decks off against each other, then this bounce creature thing is going to come in handy because the other deck is dinosaur based and has a bunch of creatures. So there's two copies of that rare in there, and you can only get that in this deck. There are 3 copies of Jase's Sentinel, which is an uncommon. Now, this is a solid power level. A blue and a colorless, you get a 2/3 unblockable when you have a Jase out. So that is really good. And the artwork, for me, is a total win. I absolutely love the art on this card. It's so cool. So there's 3 of those in the deck, and I think they do this thing intentionally to try and get you to maybe buy 2 Planeswalkers decks. If you want 4 copies of the rare or 4 copies of the uncommon, you're going to need 2 copies of the deck. So in terms of commons, though, they're nice and they give you 4 copies of each. There are the Castaway's Despair, which in terms of enchantments itself is pretty weak, but in terms of art is really solid. Honestly, this does show Jase just kind of like, deserted somewhere, and it gives the feel, the proper feel for the card, even if it isn't a terribly playable card outside of the deck. And you can use the cards that show up in these decks in Standard. They are Standard legal. And they have reprinted Woodland Streamed as well as the other exclusive card for the deck. You get 4 copies of that green-blue land. And I do like that they include these mana fixers in the Planeswalkers deck, and they tend to give them new artwork, and the artwork usually is pretty good, and Woodland Stream is no exception. The artwork on that is really nice as well. So the theme behind the Jase deck is it's a merfolk deck, but it feels a little bit confused, honestly. When you go through it, it has a bunch of creatures that have abilities based around being unblockable, and it also has, like, for example, the rares that are included in the deck are Herald of Secret Streams, which makes your creatures with +1/+1 counters unblockable, and Fleet Swallower, which will get rid of half of your opponent's library every time it attacks. So basically, the Herald of Secret Streams, you're going to want to be getting +1/+1 counters on your different merfolk, and there are merfolk in this deck that will let you do that, and then they'll be unblockable, and you'll be able to swing with them. But the thing is, they have the creatures that are unblockable, creatures that make other creatures unblockable, they have creatures that get flying, but then you also have creatures in the deck that specifically get a bonus when they are blocked, which seems to me like a really jarring opposite of what they're going for with the deck. In most of the cases, you're using evasion, and you have the ability to give these creatures evasion. So having creatures that specifically care about being blocked feels like it doesn't fit. And overall, this deck itself, it feels like it fits together, except Jase doesn't feel like it fits with the deck. I mean, it'll work with the deck, but honestly, aside from the specific cards that are put in the deck keyed to Jase, like the Tutor and Jase's Sentinel, it's really just an interesting green-blue merfolk deck with a little bit of a confused theme. So it honestly kind of does feel like a deck built by a beginner because it's not 100% sure what it wants to be doing. But overall, I do like the idea behind the deck. It is fun, and cards like Fleet Swallower, when you get that, let's say you get both your rares out, you get your Herald of Secret Streams and your Fleet Swallower out, and you manage to make that Fleet Swallower unblockable, it's going to feel really good eating half of your opponent's library every turn. Even if you never manage to mill him to death, it's a really nice guttural feeling where you're like, yeah, half your deck just went to the graveyard, eat it! So it's got that nice feeling for beginners, and that's what these Planeswalkers decks are designed for. So that is the angle as well that I'm reviewing it from. So That covers the exclusives from the Jase deck. Now let's talk about Huatli. Huatli is obviously the Planeswalker is Huatli Dinosaur Knight. Now this one is interesting. It is heavily hammering down the dinosaur theme. The regular version of Huatli that comes from Ixalan doesn't have the same sort of heavy dinosaur influence. This one, all of her abilities specifically reference and care about dinosaurs, which is really cool. It's a hardcore tribal Planeswalker feel. And with this deck, they've really pushed the dinosaurs because there are only a few cards that they could go back through the history of Magic and go, okay, now this counts as a dinosaur. They went back and they picked some old lizards that felt like dinosaurs and made them dinosaurs, and it totally works. I mean, you're going to go back and you're going to make Pygmy Allosaurus a dinosaur. Of course you are. That's absolutely the right thing to do. But the number of dinosaurs overall is lacking. So this solves it as well by not only giving you the tribal Planeswalker concept, where it's like, you want to play dinosaurs? Okay, here's some dinosaur love. So in terms of the tutor for this deck, you get Sun Blessed Mount. So you get yourself a nice fat dinosaur, and it only costs 5 mana, and it lets you tutor up Huatli either from the library or the graveyard. And I like the fact that it costs 5 mana, and Huatli costs 6. So the turn before you're going to be able to cast Huatli, assuming you'll get the actual land you need, you'll have the ability to cast this and make sure you have Huatli in your hand. So you get 2 of those in the deck. Then you get 3 of Huatli's Spurring, which specifically when you have Huatli out becomes like a super Bloodlust. For 1 mana, you get to add +4 to any creature, which is pretty insane. I like that card. And then when it comes to the common, you get 4 copies of Huatli's Snubhorn, which is basically a grizzly bear with with vigilance. 2 mana gets you a 2/2 with vigilance, and it increases the overall number of dinosaurs that are available in the game, so that's dope. And there are 4 copies of Stone Quarry as well in the deck, and that is the white-red land as well. So I do like that they include those. So the theme for this deck is basically just get out a bunch of dinosaurs and smash face, and there's some removal cards to make sure that your creatures can get through. The rares that come along with the deck are Goring Ceratarps to give all your guys double strike, and Burning Sun Avatar for a little bit of burn action. So overall, I really like the way that the dinosaur deck is put together, the Huatli deck specifically. I like it better than the Jase deck overall, but either way, I think that in terms of playing with these decks, they both seem like they have a lot of potential for fun. In terms of strength in Standard, couldn't say. They're probably not going to be up to snuff. Most likely would need a lot of changing around to have any chance of standing up to anybody. Now, in terms of the value that you get out of these decks run from $15 to $20, and we're talking Canadian value. So when it comes to this, $15 to $20 for the decks. The Planeswalkers themselves, none of the Planeswalkers so far from any Planeswalkers exclusive deck have gone to being worth less than $6. So you can count any of the Planeswalkers roughly at $6 automatically right there of value. On top of that, you get 2 booster packs in each of the decks, as well as the deck itself. So you get a fully playable deck with the foil Planeswalker. If you want to value the packs at regular price, they're normally $4 to $5. If you were buying them off the shelf, they would be $5 a shot. So between the 2 booster packs and the Planeswalker in the card, you're getting your $15 worth of value right there if you're paying $15, as long as you consider booster packs a worthwhile purchase. Then right there you're already even, and the deck is just a bonus. If you're ending up towards the $20 price point, then you have to decide if the deck itself, aside from the Planeswalker and the packs, are worth the extra $5. In my opinion, they certainly are. They come with exclusive cards that you can't get elsewhere. In some cases, these cards do actually move out into being standard usable, such as Flame Lash from the Kaladesh Planeswalker deck, and those ended up being worth like $1.50 each, so you had $6 of value just in the commons. So when it comes down to it, overall, these decks do seem to be worth it as long as the card quality is there. What we're going to do next is we're going to evaluate the card quality of these decks. If they are up to snuff, then based on what's in them, they definitely seem like a reasonable acquisition. So let's go ahead, crack them open, and see what it looks like. Alright, well, thanks to my patrons, I actually have the physical decks here to evaluate this time. So we will crack them open and take a look. We're not going to be bothering to open the booster packs. Those will be opened in a separate video, so you'll want to check that out if you want to see the packs being opened, but that's not nearly as important as taking a look at the deck itself, as you can see booster packs anywhere. So, last time when we did one of these, the Nicol Bolas had errors on the printing, so this foil here appears to have no problems. Excellent. Okay, so the foil gets a pass. There's no problems there. Now we will crack open the box. Some nice artwork on there, not too shabby. All right, and we've got the deck, as well as 2 booster packs, which we're not going to use, and the quick reference guide, which comes with everything, and the before you play, just a little insert telling you to just play the deck without changing it, just to understand how the game works, and then open the booster packs. And it says that Jase has joined forces with the River Heralds, a powerful merfolk tribe. As the game begins, swarm your opponent with small, low-cost merfolk. Once you're able to cast Jase, use his abilities to your advantage by drawing cards or gaining control of your opponent's creatures. So, a simple synopsis of how the deck works there. So this isn't too shabby. I mean, it's fairly useless to anybody but a brand new beginner, but that's alright. Now, let us take a look at the quality of the cards in the deck itself, if it wants to work with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see what we're working with here. We have, move that over for a moment. The Herald. Okay, well, so far in terms of print quality, I don't really see any glaring errors. I mean, obviously I'm not going to sit here and pick through them for massive mistakes or anything, but in terms of print quality, which is definitely something that is important to evaluate, this actually seems to be perfect. I see no errors. The cards are all nicely centered. This is really good, actually. I'm really pleased to see this. So in terms of that, this deck totally gets a pass. So let's see if that was a fluke, or let's see if Huatli is going to turn out to be the same kind of scenario. So we'll start off by taking a look at the foil. Check out the condition of that. Alright. Looks really good. Excellent. Alright, Jase. You can go over here for now. And let's take a look. Got some nice artwork. The box, everything is in order. Boom. And in here we get, same kind of deal. 2 booster packs. Same inserts. We don't need to buy. Well, actually, you know what? We did take a look at that green one. So let's just see what the little blurb says for Huatli here. Playing the deck. Huatli rides into battle alongside her dinosaur cavalry. Early in the game, use spells to destroy your opponent's small creatures. This will buy you time until you can cast your larger ones. Once your dinosaurs hit the battlefield, use Huatli Dinosaur Knight to empower their attacks or to remove your opponent's blockers before combat. Okay, so not too bad. Nice little summary there. Other than that, again, not very useful. So let us crack into this deck, check out the quality of the cards in here, and we will see if both of them pass the test. It would be very nice, considering how many card errors we've seen lately, to actually have a situation. Oh, look at that. That's a little bit weird. The ordering. Instead of the 4 snub horns together, you have the collar. Interesting. But that's not that's just an ordering issue. As long as the card quality is good, who cares about that? It's really a non-issue. Alright, well, I have to say that on a cursory inspection, without getting really deep and down into it, these cards all seem to be well made. The quality of them is there. So when it comes to these 2 Planeswalker decks, it's actually, like in terms of just card quality and taking a look at the cards, they all look great. So it's a thumbs up from that perspective. Now, let's move on to the final part of this analysis here. Well, clearly, after looking through the decks, the decks are basically perfect. All the cards in there are flawless. I didn't open the booster pack, so I can't weigh in on the card quality there. But this review is basically done overall, not factoring in the booster packs, aside from their initial value and if you consider them to be worthwhile. So, the end result of this analysis is going to be a big fat thumbs up for both the Jase and the Huatli deck. I think the Huatli deck is a better purchase personally, but at the same time, Jase deck looks like a lot of fun too. So really, it's up in the air. There's no deck that's automatically better than the other in this case. They're totally both a reasonable purchase and a good deal to grab. So, I give the recommendation of yes on these. And I would like to say thank you very much to my patrons who made the actual opening of the product as part of this review possible and made the review more in-depth. So it makes these analyses more effective when I can do things like that. So from now on, the patrons are all going to have their names at the end of my videos, because honestly, you guys are contributing to the work that I'm doing, so you should have your name stamped on the work that I'm doing. And also, when I do my other type of videos, you will also have to hang your head in shame for the nonsense that I'm pulling, because your names will also appear there. So that's how that's going to work. So, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time!
Together, we are the sixth color of magic.